The Kano State chapter of the Nigerian Medical Association, that's NMA, has decided to resume full services at Murtala Muhammad Specialist Hospital following mediation by Governor Abba Yusuf in a dispute involving an alleged assault on a doctor by the Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs, Aisha Abdullahi. The NMA had previously withdrawn services and threatened a strike if the commissioner was not dismissed within 48 hours. NMA chairman Dr. Abdurrahman Ali stated that after meeting with the governor, who confirmed receiving investigative committee's report and promised justice, the association agreed to resume services to allow for further negotiation. Governor Yusuf had appealed to the NMA to avoid endangering the lives of over 20 million Kano residents by striking, emphasizing the government's commitment to doctors' welfare and the importance of allowing the investigation to proceed. He assured that any official found guilty would face consequences and apologized on behalf of the government, urging the NMA to prioritize patient care. When they say, you know this Nigerian proverb of when two elephants are fighting, you know who suffers.
Grass, yeah.
Now, looking at this scenario of the health worker that was allegedly assaulted, and then the doctors getting angry and saying we're going on strike if nothing is done about it, that statement of we are going on strike, human beings are the ones who are going to be affected.
Sure.
People who are already in these hospitals, people who would have emergency cases at that during that period.
Exactly.
Yeah. But let's just get your overall thoughts on this story and the whole scenario so far.
You see, I want to the language of Kano State governor for me is what it. Some persons will say it to be a bit harsh. You know, at times I wonder the kind of position our doctors take when it comes to some issues that has to do with them. I want to still bring in patriotism here. If our doctors have the interest and they are very much conscious about the life of the masses, the people God has, you know, entrusted into their hands to save as human beings. God is, right? That's what they said. But that the doctors cure, something like that. Now, those God has, you know, put into their hand to manage to cure, if the doctors value that particular, if they value their office and understand that this is a privilege too to find yourself in that particular ministry of saving lives, then you don't abuse it.
But don't you see the possibility of that just being an empty threat to call the attention of the government to?
But it's not just an empty threat. I don't see it to be an empty threat because it has happened, you know, in other states prior to this time. Once they release some of those statements, if the government doesn't stand on their toes, you see them embark on strike. And you can imagine the kind of ultimatum they gave: 48 hours, if nothing, you know, is being done or was done, that they will embark on strike. Why strike? Why always strike? Why strike all the time? If all different other parastatals or profession start embarking on strike at any slightest misunderstanding, or well, how would the country, how are we going to move on in Nigeria? So they shouldn't, the doctors, the Nigerian Medical Association should not always be seeing themselves as a very important and insignificant, as a very important and significant sector of Nigerians' economy, or one of the institutions in Nigeria that the country cannot do without. Because once they begin to see themselves like that, the government may also devise another means to handle such situation. But I have a very critical point I want to make here. You know, I never knew this story would be coming up just after the previous one we tried to consider. You see, the issue of the private business we're talking about, I see it playing out too.
How?
Yes. Now, hope you are aware that whenever these doctors embark on strike, it only affects the government institution, that's the government hospitals. Public hospitals, those are the ones affected. The private hospitals are not affected. Are you aware of that? Now, you see, once this thing happens like this, they now technically, and we must start saying it the way it is, so that the doctors will also understand that Nigerians are saying, Nigerians are thinking, and we are analyzing what they are doing. They gradually and technically move some of the patients to their private hospitals. Otherwise, I see no reason why, just an issue between a government a commissioner and then a doctor, one-on-one, and then the whole association wants to embark on strike, and human beings are in the hospital. I think it's high time our state government, will begin to deal decisively with this particular action.
Okay.
Once there is a misunderstanding, once there is an assault, there is an abuse, there should be other avenue to handle those particular issues, and not to put the entire lives of the whole state into danger. Okay.
For some of these public office holders who hold offices that have so much power, right? Recently, we had a case of, I'm very sure you saw that story of the lawmaker who had an issue with the driver, and that's whole assault and all of that, when he threatened and said, "Oh, I'm going to make you disappear," like like these cartoons that we watch, and all of those statements. Don't you think there's supposed to be some sort of orientation? When you give a man power, you need to help him understand how to use that power.
Exactly.
And the reason some Nigerians feel like the reason that was addressed is because people spoke out. People spoke up. We had it trending online. Everybody was saying something about it, or the government should do something, and that's why. So don't you think this is just another step of them calling the attention of the government towards what has already happened? And let's also talk about the orientation aspect, giving these public office holders some sort of orientation so they know how to use the power that they have been given. Very,
very critical. I was to come to that. The issue of orientation is very critical. In fact, looking at what transpired there, it came to my mind, but somehow, because of our discussion, is keep. Thank God you're bringing it up. There is need for sensitization. There is need for orientation and reorientation. People, sometimes we don't know that we abuse privileges, we abuse power, and then we go out of our professional ethics to start doing what shouldn't, what the ears shouldn't hear. So there is need for orientation and reorientation. Calling for strike all the time by, some public office holders and organizations is not the best. If we had heard that, oh, this thing happened so and so time, and then NMA or NMA has called the attention, has written to the state government, because it is the appointee of the state government that perpetrated that act, allegedly. If we had read that they have wrote to the state government and nothing was done, a follow-up letter was sent, nothing was done, then the issue of strike can now come up, because it will be obvious that they have been sidelined, they have been, relegated. What they are presenting to the government is not being given proper attention. Then we can, but something just happened. We have not read, we have not heard that there has been a kind of move. The next thing is just within 48 hours. So there is need for orientation and reorientation. So the orientation
you're talking about is for the health workers now?
It should be general, public office holders. But in this case, we are using health workers based on the incident at Kano as a case study. Now, both for the public office holder, both for the health workers, and also those that are appointing them, in case, like the case of the commissioner. Sometimes politicians too feel that they are so powerful, that 4 years or 3 years, as the case may be, that they have to be in office, is their time to exercise all the whole power they feel they have. So it's also something that should be looked into. Of course, some non-governmental organizations, humanitarian organizations, and all of that, advocacy group need to also see how to come together to ensure that government appointees, I know at times the government organizes seminar for them, but the question is, some of those seminars, some of those symposiums, that are being organized, do they target some of the areas that needs to be addressed, or is also political aspect, so that they will not
if someone is exercising so much power, confidence, threatening the next person, it's for a reason. People don't just say things. It's because they know what they have. They know they know who they think they are, right?
Sure.
And they know what's backing them, and they know that nothing will happen. That's the painful part of it. The part where it seems like nothing will happen.
Something will happen. Just that Nigerians, some persons feel so powerless, even when they have points. Even when they have some, good reason to buttress their point and to challenge some matters legally. because of this mindset of nothing will happen.
Let's go, since you've talked about, sorry to cut you, but since you talked about legal action, let's go back to the time where we had the importation of bad fuel. And then I don't know if you were one of those Nigerians that were affected. Their engines were affected.
Then, no, that period I parked my car.
Oh, you had to park your car?
Yes.
Was it because of the bad fuel?
Definitely. Because
you had your car affected by that too?
No, I heard it.
In the news?
I heard the news, yes. And then some of my friends will also complain. Some of them, their cars had issue. Then I wasn't prepared to start fixing my car then. So what I did was to just park the car, and then I was using a public transport.
People went to court. Imagine people going to court for one person for one personality or one entity in different states. People were taking the matter to court. What happened at the end of the day?
Well, that's question for the judiciary, you know.
It's not just question for if something has to do with you, it has to do with Nigerians. A lot of us were affected, so we're not just leaving it because we didn't get to hear a lot from that news. People have been asking what happened. You know, people were using words on air that we had to be cautioning them not to use such words. Because they were saying heads should go in for it and things like that. But people were not compensated. They were not happy with the outcome. And then you're saying that with that scenario, Nigeria should still take things to court. Some people do not have that confidence anymore.
That's correct. But whether
I feel like you need to know somebody who knows somebody before you can go to court.
That's correct. But I also believe that it's always good to attempt. I don't like giving up in total. I love attempting. Let it be that I've attempted and it didn't work out. That something happened, just like it's still happening. Of course, those of them in the political arena, a lot is happening. A lot is going on. Different interpretation when it comes to legal issues and all of that. Now, if something had happened and the masses, people went to court, and at the end of the day, the expected result or the outcome that was envisaged was not, gotten or was not seen, what do you want the masses to do? Now, it now behoves on, of course, the judiciary is an arm of government. Am I correct? It's part of government. Now, the executive, it behoves on the executive to now take up the matter forward. But once the apex leadership that is supposed to continue that particular matter didn't do anything, the masses will become handicapped. And that will also take us to, this particular issue I want to review. If you critically watch what transpired, we discover that those we are also expecting to champion the matter at the point that the masses became so weak and powerless. If you critically analyze it, you discover that somehow they are also part of the problem. So who will caution who? Who will now challenge who? Who will now cancel who? That's the point. That's the point, because a powerless or an average Nigerian cannot go into that level of business. So when you look at it, you discover that the matter died off like that simply because some of the people we're looking up to are also involved.
And even some Nigerians don't have the strength and the will to even continue with some of these cases. Sometimes the process will just make them back off. They get tired. And then you want to take a commissioner to court, people ask, who do you want to take a commissioner? How? Think about it. Ask yourself. Why are you taking the commissioner to court?
But that's, it depends on individual.
If a commissioner, about the mindset of
but
Nigerians.
You see, the kind of mind that I have.
Nigerians.
Something happened, let's digress just for 1 minute, in my area, and then we're having issues with power, issues with electricity here and there. I told my people I am tired. The only thing I want to hear is that you people are ready, let's take a PhD to court. Sorry that I'm saying this, but it got to that point. You're bringing estimated bill. We don't know how these bills are being estimated. At times, will not have light. And then at the end of the month, let us go and challenge this particular. Yes. If there are some policies, some understanding, between the government and, that the masses, the consumers, your customers are not aware, maybe by the time we go to court, some documents that we are not privy to having will now be revealed.